All right, welcome everybody. We're going to dive into all things SDR. To do that, we got a new friend of mine. His name's Dave Wilkins. Doing some really interesting stuff. Got a fun background in sales development. So he's kind of a strategist and a tactician running a really cool community, which we're going to hear about in just a second. So Dave, thanks so much for joining. How are you?
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks so much. Really looking
Yeah,
forward to this.
yeah, man. It sounds like you've been running the gauntlet, traveling all over the world, doing all things pipeline generation. Like I said, I want to get into it in a minute, but tell us a little bit. I want to get into the background. Tell us what you kind of. Let's start a little earlier. You know, your journey into sales development, man. I'd love to kind of get into that. How you kind of got ultimately to this SDR leaders, but let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, sure. I graduated from university 2009 when the job market was still suffering the consequences of the global crash. Um,
Yes, yes.
yes, but luckily I was quite talented youth rugby player, so I went and played semi-pro rugby in the Netherlands for a little bit. Decided to become a real person and get a real job, so thought I should move into teaching.
What? Semi-pro rugby is not a real job? Is that what you're telling me?
I know it's like there's only so many times you can get kicked in the head, and then it's like, okay, that's I can't do this anymore. And so I wanted to become a teacher, so moved to
Whoa,
work
whoa!
at.
Now you hold on. Why did you want to become a teacher? That was like a moment of inspiration. How do you go from rugby to teaching? You wanted to teach rugby. Was that the
Yeah,
connection? No.
yeah. It was like just like being able to coach and and help people get better every day, and I thought it's going to be less hurtful on the head, um, being moving into teaching. So moved to a private school in the north of England, which was, as I always say, it's like Hogwarts, but instead of wizards, it was just full of monks whizzing around.
Okay. Okay. So you did that for a while, and then you had another moment of change, career change.
Yeah, yeah. Just decided I actually like living in the Netherlands more than I like living in the UK, and so moved back after writing off my car. I forgot about the old adage "deer in headlights" and decided flickering my headlights would make them move. Didn't. So with the £750 that I got from my car being written off, I moved to back to the Netherlands and stayed at some friends' houses. Worked at a mayonnaise factory in the Netherlands to make ends meet, and then I got this fateful phone call around September 2013 saying, I don't know why I'm offering you this, but I think you'd be a really good fit for a BDR role at this company called Palo Alto Networks. And I didn't know what either of those two things were. And
And wait, this was just a random. This was a random recruiter, or this was.
Yeah, it was just getting out my CV, trying to find something, but my skill set from teaching, coaching, sports, it's not doesn't really fit into a traditional business role. And then she just I sent my CV to this company, and then they reached out and said, yeah, I think you'd be I don't know why, but I think you'd be a really good fit for this. And then that was started the journey into this crazy world of B2B SaaS.
So you started at Palo Alto Networks. As if that's not, you weren't starting at some random company. I mean, that's a well-known, firm. So that's awesome. You kind of went from the mayonnaise factory to Palo Alto Networks. I'll take that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then finish the journey. So you got into SDR, and then you've obviously continued. You found a love for it. You've created this great community. Walk us through that part.
Yeah, so uh, the natural it felt like the natural progression from having a teaching and coaching background was in leadership. That's where I got my most joy and satisfaction from. So I moved to a company called Infoblox, and over 6 years after Palo Alto, after 6 years, I went from BDR to director level, running new logo go to market strategy in Europe, building out a commercial sales team, running both Europe and EMEA, and then moving
Wow.
to a global role at another company in Canada, and then my final full-time role was at Snowflake, running the EMEA sales development org.
Awesome, man.
Could have
Not
moved
a bad
into
way to not a bad way to go out, right? At
no,
Snowflake.
it's okay. It's good
Those
good
guys
place.
only had 400 sales development reps, right? Or something like that.
It was only 250. It wasn't
250.
that big.
I'd call that one of the bigger ones out there. You made some great connections there. We talked about that last time, and then you decided to kind of go on your own and do kind of this group and community. So how was that facilitated?
Yeah, I think I'm always of the mindset of I can carp on from the sidelines saying that I think something isn't working, or I can do something about it, and
Yeah.
that's got me into a lot of trouble earlier on in life, but it's also a credence that I live by, and I felt that for sales development, for the leadership that has that team, they're responsible for multi-million dollar business units with tech salaries, headcounts, and they're not treated as their peers.
Yeah.
And so let's do something about that, and let's elevate this role at both an exec level, but also in the minds of the SDR leaders who run them. Like, you are a true revenue contributor to the business,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're going to help you do that. So that started out with deciding on a New Year's Eve 2023, walking my dog.
It was a New Year's resolution. Is that what this was? Okay. All right. I like it.
Yeah, my wife is training to be a nurse, and she had to go into the hospital on New Year's Day, so we were just staying at home that night. And instead of partying, I decided to set up a community like all the cool kids.
And it sounds like it's been okay. Walk us through kind of how that's turned out. Sounds like you guys have been doing some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it went. I knew we were onto something when I thought that first week I was thinking about what this would look like. If I get 150 people join in 12 months, then it'll be a success. And we ended up getting 100 people join in the first 48 hours
Wow.
into this community, and it was like, oh, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
And it just started. It started out in EMEA, and then I met my co-founder Dale Thorne some time before this, and we decided about 6 months later what about if we made one for the US as well. And we've now got a community in APAC as well, trying to service all of these leaders, and our vision is dictate what the sales development for. Our vision is to dictate what the sales development motion should look like in
Yeah.
2030.
I love it. I love it, man. That's awesome. And you're now you mentioned APAC. You got some stuff in the US. Where else are you kind of playing?
Uh, EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa, North America, APAC. I'm getting people reach out to me saying, are you going to do one for LATAM?
Cool.
Yeah, so I mean, it's great. It's awesome that people are seeing the value and think we can do more stuff. Yes, there's a lot more to do still.
Yeah, and what is is it you name it different for each region that it's SDR leaders of? Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah, correct. Because what happens in France is completely different to what happens in San Francisco, in terms of labor laws, in terms of how to engage with people, in terms of talent. And so we didn't want to create one global community because we didn't want to drown out people who have a voice that really needs to be heard. So we've created it as three separate groups to really help with that.
Cool. Yeah, because there's some different nuances in that. I definitely agree. So, and what is it? So if I was, I'm hearing this for the first time. I'm meeting, Dave here on this podcast. It finds itself in a Slack community predominantly. You guys do different activities. Give us a little bit of that, kind of how it plays out.
Yeah, so it's invite only. Me and my co-founder Dale, we're like the bouncers at the front of a pub for a club.
You got to
Uh,
have that, right? You got to have
yeah,
it. I mean, you
you got
you make a joke of it, but it's kind of like that's the problem with all those, Anyways, yeah, every community's got some joker who's out there posting stupid memes, trying to just push his product, whatever his or her product, excuse me. So yeah, you got the bounce. You're not the scariest bouncer I've seen though, David. I got to admit.
well, you should have seen me 10, 15 years ago still playing rugby.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's right. You forgot, man. You got the rugby background, man. So,
Yeah.
and look, there's mean digital bouncers, and there's mean physical bouncers. So it sounds like you're a
Yeah.
mean digital one. So
100%. So we kind of live day to day in our Slack community, and we've made a really conscious effort get to make the quality of people really high, because
yeah,
then we know that the engagement's going to be high.
makes such a difference, right?
Yeah, and I was just looking through our US community this morning, and it's just amazing to see when somebody asks a question, 8 or 9 people jump in, offering
That's awesome.
different perspectives, different points of views.
Super cool.
Yeah, and
Super cool. And do you have to be, it's not designed for reps. You have to have a management title. Is it
yeah,
any restrictions size-wise, company size, anything like that? Or
no, just if you're an SDR leader, you're
you
either
can
a
jump
team
in?
lead, and then and up. So we have, I think, 70 now of some of the biggest global VPs of sales development in
Awesome.
our community, and then we have
Awesome.
an SDR manager managing 2 people. It varies so much.
And where would, if someone wanted to find that, I usually do this at the end, but just since we're talking about it, just SDR Leaders USA, you'd find it, and that's how you could apply to see if you could join into something like this. Is that correct?
SDR-leader.com,
Yep.
and then you'll find where you can join
And apply.
on the website.
Super cool, man. Super. So you got the community, and that's kind of it sounds like it grew a little bit faster than you thought it would, which is awesome. Just a tad, 48 hours versus 365 days. I'd say that was a little faster. And then you're also looking to do some events and some, you're gathering, et cetera, right? You've added that or adding some of that on top of it.
Yeah, so we're planning to do 54 in-person events this year, all across the world.
Okay.
And we don't do dinners per se, because maybe it's a bit of projection from my side, but when I was a leader at Snowflake, I didn't want to spend, after working 80 hours a week, because that's how much you work, it's not 9 to 5, you don't want to be spending then the 3 hours that you have in the evening in a loud bar, restaurant, and then God forbid, Gabe, if I was sitting next to you and you found me really boring for 3 hours and you were just ticking down the minutes.
Yeah.
So we do a kind of like debate and discussion style format, where we'll do it in somebody's office, one of our community members' office, in one of their spaces. We'll have food and drinks, but then we talk about very vision, strategic level themes. And it's not sometimes these events are sponsored, because to put these on, it does cost money.
Yeah.
But then it's not just a sponsor and host talking at each other. The goal is that our goal is, if we don't speak, that's a success, because that means that the whole room then is
Community's
engaging,
kind of talking. Yeah, I like it.
bouncing off one another, challenging one another. And
Awesome.
yeah, so that's kind of the style that we do.
Love it, man. Well, it sounds like you're going to be busy. You got some. You're going to be a little million-mile airliner. You were the co-founder, one or both, maybe both of you there.
Yeah, this beard has been getting whiter and whiter over the last 5 months. So
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, man. With age comes good stuff as well. Well, I know you recently, so I really appreciate you kind of walking through your story and kind of what you set up, and congratulations. I mean, it obviously has hit a chord, and I think you're making, movement for this space, which needs more voices. It needs more community. It's an interesting function, to say the least. With that said, I know you were recently traveling and you're around these community members. You're seeing it in your Slack groups, some of the challenges and obstacles and debates people are having. You're a little jet lagged coming back from San Francisco recently. Is there something that comes to mind that you are kind of continually seeing, that are kind of sparking interesting debates in this sales development community that you'd be open to kind of debate or kind of share with me here briefly?
Yeah, 100%. I think the big one that stands out, and there's some resolution happening, but it's still a big topic, is around um, the amount of time that reps are spending on actually doing an SDR role, and how
Okay.
we've created, not intentionally, but trying to help reps, give them so many tools and so many features to help them do their
Mm,
job, that we're now we've got this like paralysis by analysis. And
yeah.
the piece that I say that I see a lot is, reps. When I ask this question, how many hours a day do your reps spend on admin tasks, researching, identifying leads?
Sure.
I've had it where a third of the room has still got their hands up. Those SDR leaders, when I say over 3 hours, so over 3 hours a day, they're spending on those kind of admin tasks.
And that would be, again, that's just kind of non-actual selling time. So think like, I mean, almost anything that falls research, finding leads, finding account information, doing research on the account or the person himself, follow-ups, invites or meeting notes or any of that would kind of fit into that category when you use non-selling time. So when I'm actually engaging, I'm engaging in. Is there any other detail you provide? Does that sound about right? What I
Yeah,
said, or would you correct that a little bit?
100%. Those kind of non-revenue generating
Okay.
activities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a big problem, because if you're being asked to justify headcount cost and
Yeah. Yeah.
your business unit, and it's like, well, how is productive is our headcount? And
Yep.
it's like, well, 30% of their time a day has not been spent on, or more, has been not spent on actual doing the job.
What do you feel like it mostly is? Is it mostly one thing? Is it most finding the right accounts, or is it mostly, is there one or two that kind of is dominant, or just in general, it's like Gabe, it's the gauntlet now. It's, messaging to accounts to leads to follow up. It's a little bit of everything.
There feels like there's been and this is my interpretation, so it's
Yeah.
not, I want to make sure I put that preface in for a second. There's been an abdication of responsibility in terms of account identification, account prioritization from businesses, and they're putting it
Onto the
into the
right.
hands of 23-year-olds straight out of university.
Is that right? Is that right? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
And
Mm,
the amount of times I still hear leaders say they've just been told just to go after whatever, it's a little bit worrying, that we're in 2026 and that is coming back. It was getting better just around pre-COVID,
yeah.
but then and I think it may be just because of headcounts being lost and people not thinking this is really critically important. So,
So it's pretty wild, wild, and but it's funny they'll throw a million tools at them. To your
oh
point,
yeah,
right? It's like they, but they don't, but they expect them to kind of do it themselves. Is kind of what
yeah,
you're saying. So have 10 tools rather than hire an ops person to support them or something. It's kind of just here's 50 tools, go figure it out yourself. Is kind of one of the big challenges you heard. Hmm.
yeah, big time. And then what's been really good though to see is the stories and the anecdotes that leaders have been giving in terms of how they're resolving this.
Yeah.
Um, and so I actually spoke to this person in San Francisco because I'd said to him, he told me a really good story 2 years ago, how he has a team of 7 SDRs. When his company has given him a headcount, he told me now it's been increased. He could have a headcount of 74, but he generates $1 billion of pipeline a year with his 7 reps,
Wow.
versus his counterpart who has that headcount of, at that stage, was 47
Wow.
headcounts. And
Wow.
because he has built a real data driven automated process in filtering out which are the right accounts, enriching them with the having the, he says 70 different signals to really make sure that he knows which are the right ones to go after at the right times. So then his team.
Geez, we should have that guy on this podcast. It sounds like, I mean, what a cool, no, but in truth, what a great side by side example. There's the hire the 50 people, throw them 20 tools, throw them into the wolves, let them do their own thing. And then there's this hire 10 people, build a machine around them, let them do what they do best, which is sell and watch the numbers show the difference. And the problem is it's so much easier to just throw the tools and say, go do it. I mean, no one wants to build it. And it's still kind of hard to build that machine, right? I mean, you're talking about GTM engineer, you got to get the right person and you got to stitch together some tools. I mean, it's a little tough, right? I assume he said that. It takes some time to build that machine, but the results are worth it. The results are worth it.
No, 100%. And I think, it takes time, but it's also that people don't know how to do it.
Yes.
And, and so, you could spend 15% of that 100, 200K a year on tools. Sorry, million, I should say. So you're on 200K on a headcount to fix everything, and you're saving 80% potential of cost by just having this person just structuring it out, planning the process.
That's so interesting. I think there's a mental barrier for leaders. They really hate hiring like ops people. They would rather hire more and more salespeople to kind of like figure it out themselves. Fascinating, man. That's a really interesting one. Let's switch just in the last couple of minutes. AI is obviously the talk of the town. I'm sure it comes up every time you blow your nose, you open the door, you open the community. It seems to be being talked about in some form or fashion. What are people kind of saying out there? Are they scared? They're nervous? They're adopt a little bit of everything. What's kind of been the take as you've talked to the group and community?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting to see from both an EMEA and a USA side. Where EMEA is normally very conservative anyway with a small c in terms of technology adoption and time it takes for trends to move over from the States. But what that's allowed now has been this whole thing in the US where they've been trying to figure out, okay, where would AI fit in a top of funnel motion, and going from AI SDRs to and the pieces around that to going, actually, well, no, hold on, AI can make us more productive and create greater efficiency gains if we do that more top of funnel, and allow our reps to actually be human and talk to humans, but with all that information that they're prepared with. And so we're seeing this kind of over the last 18 months, this kind of figuring it out. And now in EMEA, they're just taking all the hard work that the US has been doing to now you figured it out, now we can do it. So it's been this really interesting to see these both sides, how they've evolved.
Fascinating. Yeah, that must be kind of fun to see both of them. Where do you feel like most people are trying to adopt, maybe trying to adopt, but actually seeing wins with AI in this function? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it really is around account scoring, account prioritization, and lead enrichment being done at a press of a button. We're now with the kind of data waterfalls that you can get, where you can put in one lead and then it will come from different sources of information to enrich that lead. It means that you're no longer reliant on one data source that might not have completely all the coverage you need. It's getting cheaper as well to do it as a kind of a data waterfall as well.
Yeah, because that in the past has been fairly expensive, right? That's been
Yeah.
a challenge. That can be very
And
interesting.
so we're starting to see like those kind of pieces, and I think a lot with the big data providers, it's going to be an interesting kind of next 18 to 24 months as those kind of long-term contracts end,
Yeah.
to see about how they can pivot and be agile with these data waterfalls that have come in and started to take some of their market share.
Fascinating, man. Fascinating. Cool. And then where do you feel like people have failed on it? I mean, has there been much talk of that? I know there was a lot of people for example, who jumped on, we won't name tools or anything, but we're jumping on kind of the, hey, I could hire an SDR and it can just spam blast email cold to people and that'll be good. And I know that's kind of failed for a few people. As an example, is there anything where you're like, it feels like people maybe tried and failed in talking to some of them?
Um, it's really around that, and I think I get the premise around that kind of concept about if I can, for a VC as well, to give money to these companies. It's like, hold on, you can reduce the total headcount cost to double digits of what it was, like 10% of what it would have cost to have all of this human headcount.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think the concept is good, but the delivery, it was too early, and
Mm,
people are aren't thinking like that. They're thinking they want instant rewards, and so maybe the technology that they had in place would be effective in a couple of years, but it wasn't ready
yeah.
for now. So I think that's been the big piece where we've seen that thing of, okay, it's been tried and not worked, and so those
Yeah.
companies that did hire and organize, get that kind of assistance, they've kind of moved back to more of a human approach now.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels that way. Feels that way.
Yeah.
Fascinating, man. Cool. Well, super fun to hear your story. Fun to kind of talk through a couple examples of things that are going on in the community. Parting words here, you obviously are talking to a bunch of people. A lot of people are starting their journey as a new manager, as a new leader. Sounds like joining your community would be one thing that would help them on that. But any kind of parting advice you'd give to those people who are jumping into this new age sales development and trying to work in the modern age?
Yeah, I think the big piece is, if your mindset is that you get satisfaction and joy from seeing other people succeed, that you've helped get there, then this is exactly the role for you. Um, there are different roles in companies where you would get monetary monetary reward, and yeah, leadership, it does give you some of that, but there's going to
Yeah.
be some times when your reps will be earning more money than you, and that is
Yep.
exactly what you want. And if that feeling, when I've said that, if someone goes, that's brilliant, I want people to be earning more than me and my team, then this is the role for you. If you
Fascinating.
go, if you go, oh, I don't know about that, this isn't the role for you, because this is a vocation, leadership,
Huh.
and you're in it for the long haul. So that would just be my advice.
I love it, man. That's great advice. I hadn't heard that one. You're right. It's a kind of a different position. You got to have the right mindset if you're going to be successful in it. Cool. David, if someone wants to learn, we talked about the community. So I think we know that. We'll make sure we direct them to that. But connecting with you, LinkedIn, what's the best way to maybe, if they had a follow up, what would be the best way to do that?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. Look at my horrendous memes that I put up every couple of days, and drop me a message if you listen to the end of this, and ask me a question. Happy to answer.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, Dave, again, really appreciate you taking the time for the audience. Have a fantastic day.